Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss the organs of angiospermic plant. The vegetative organs, as we discussed, are the root, stem and the leaf. We will start with the first and important organ of the plant, which gives mechanical support, which helps in absorption of water and minerals. What is that organ? Which will make the plant to stay erect. That organ is root. So now let us talk about the root in our session today. So in the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, we will discuss our class today with the root. Now what is the root? Root is the descending portion. It is the underground portion of the plant axis. From where does the root develops? It develops from a region of the embryo which is called radicle. Right? Let us write down what is root. So root is the descending portion. It is the descending underground portion. It is the descending underground portion of the plant axis. It is the underground portion of plant axis that develops from the radicle of the embryo. So plant axis that develops. From where does it develops? It develops from the radicle of the embryo. Now you might be thinking, what is embryo? What is radicle? Now let's understand that. So if you take a dicot seed, so these are the two cotyledons of the dicot seed. Now when you open a dicot seed, inside you find embryo and embryonic axis. Now means inside you are having embryonic axis. These two are the two cotyledons of the dicot seed. Now the portion of the embryonic axis which is attached to the cotyledons, means this portion. The portion of the embryonic axis which is attached to the cotyledons is called as tigellum. What is this portion of the embryonic axis called? Tigellum. The portion of the embryonic axis inside the seed which is attaching to both the cotyledons is called as tigellum. And the portion of the embryonic axis which is below the cotyledons, means it is below the cotyledons, is called hypocotyl. Hypo to cotyledon, COTYL. The portion of the embryonic axis which is below the tigellum is called hypocotyl. This hypocotyl, hypo means below the cotyledons, will make the radicle. So it is growing and it is making the radicle. And this radicle grows further and makes the root system. This radicle grows further and it makes the root system. So now you understood. Means it develops from the radicle of the embryo. So here is the embryonic axis. The portion of the embryonic axis which is below the tigellum cotyledon is called hypocotyl. Hypocotyl grows into radicle. Radicle will make the root system. Now parallelly, if you see, the portion of the embryonic axis which is above the cotyledons is called as epicotyl. If you have to see this portion, what is this portion called? It is called epicotyl. And this epicotyl grows and it will make pumule. So this grows and it will make, what is this portion called? It is called pumule. And the pumule grows further up and it makes the shoot system. This pumule will grow further up. And what does it make? It makes the shoot system. Now you understood clearly what is hypocotyl, what is radicle, what is epicotyl, what is pumule, how the root system is formed, how the shoot system is formed. So that's what is root? It is descending. Yes, it is inside the soil. It is descending. Yes, it is underground portion of the plant axis which develops from the radicle of the embryo. Now if you have to list down the characters of root, if you have to just list down the characters of root, one by one we can tell root is positively geotrophic, negatively phototrophic. So it is positively geotrophic, and it is negatively, because it's growing into the soil, positively geotrophic. Because it is growing, it's not coming up, it is negatively phototrophic. And on the root, I did not show any mature regions called nodes and internodes. So no nodes and internodes. No nodes and no internodes also. They are the characteristic features of the stem. And it is non-green also. Root is non-green, stem is green. So it is non-green also. There are no lateral buds on the roots also. No buds. No buds on the root. No lateral appendages like leaf, flower, fruit and all. So no. Root doesn't have any lateral appendages. Okay, so don't consider the lateral roots as lateral appendages, because they are the parts of the root only, right? And the root tip, these are the characters. The root tip will be protected by a root cap. So the tip of the root is protected by root cap. The tip of the root is protected by a root cap, and it has many lateral roots, and those lateral roots will have root hairs. So, root has many lateral roots with root hairs, which will increase the surface area so that it can absorb water and minerals. Now, all these are the characters of the root, children. It is positively geotrophic because going into the soil. It's not coming up, so it is negatively phototrophic. So there are no nodes and internodes. So that is why it's non-green. It's not having any buds, because nodes and internodes are not there. No lateral appendages. The tip of the root is going into a harsh environment where stones, pebbles and all are there. So to protect itself from the harsh environment, the tip of the root, which is having meristematic cells, is protected by a root cap. And it has many lateral roots, and which have root hairs, which will increase the surface area so that it can absorb more water and more minerals. Now coming to the functions of the root, then let us quickly list down the functions of the root. Functions of root. Now, what are the functions of the root? Now, the first function of the root is anchorage and giving mechanical strength for the plant to stand erect. So, the first function of the root is anchorage, means providing mechanical strength to the plant. This is a main function of the root. Because of the lateral roots and root hairs, it will not prevent the soil to erode, soil to wash off. So means roots, because of their grip, they are holding the soil, so it prevents the soil erosion also. So let me write on that. It prevents soil erosion. So it prevents the flow of soil, it holds the soil. Now, it helps in absorption of water and minerals from the soil. Functions of the soil are, it helps in anchorage, provides mechanical strength. So, it prevents soil erosion by holding the soil. So, it helps in absorption of water and minerals from the soil. So, plant needs water. So, it helps in absorption of, roots help in absorption of water also, and minerals also from soil. This is another important function of the root. It absorbs water and minerals from the soil. And not only absorbing water and minerals, when the leaf prepares the food, leaf is such a tiny structure, it can't accumulate the food, it can't store the food. Root can store the food. So the root also helps in storage of the reserve food materials. Carrot, why do we eat? Radish, turnip, beetroot, why do we eat? Because it is storing food in the form of sugar, right? So means it can store the reserve food material also. The root can help in, it helps in storage of the reserve food material. Then What are the other functions? Root, there are certain plant growth hormones like auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid, ethylene. Roots can synthesize plant growth regulators also. Like we need insulin, we need glucagon, we need cortisol, we need so many hormones. Like that, plants also need so many hormones. There are 5 plant hormones. So roots can synthesize plant growth hormones also, regulators also, like cytokinin is synthesized by the root. Okay, so helps in synthesis of PGR. PGR means plant growth regulator. Plant growth regulators means hormones. What hormone is synthesized by the plant? For example, cytokinin is a hormone synthesized by the root. All these are the functions of the root. So it helps in anchorage, means gives mechanical strength. It prevents the soil erosion by holding the soil. Then it helps in absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing it to the other parts of the plant. It helps to store the reserve food material, and it helps in the synthesis of plant growth regulators. So these are the characters of the root. These are the functions of the root. This is a definition of the root. Okay, now let us see the types of the root. So we can categorize the roots into 2 types. Like one is called as taproot, the other one is called as fibrous root. So we know we are talking about flowering plants, angiosperms. Angiosperms are divided into 2 classes. The 2 classes are dicotyledonnae and monocotyledonnae. Now we tell that types of roots. The first one is taproot system. Let us see what is taproot system. Now, I showed in the previous picture that the root comes from radicle, which is an embryonic axis, right? So, the root which directly originates from the radicle is called primary root. Primary root itself is a taproot, which is a characteristic feature in dicots. What is taproot system? So, we will tell in dicots, means dicot is a class of a plant under angiosperms. In dicots, radicle develops into primary root. Radicle develops into primary root. Now the radicle will develop into primary root. Primary root, as it comes down from the base to the apex, it is getting tapered, narrow. That's the name it got, taproot. So this is the base of the root and this is the apex of the root. From the base to the apex, the root, the primary root is getting tapered, so that is why it is called taproot. Okay, and this taproot bears lateral roots. Okay, so in dicots, radicle develops into primary root, so which bear roots of secondary order. Secondary order means they are secondary roots and tertiary roots. They are secondary roots and tertiary roots. Now this secondary roots and tertiary roots together are called as lateral roots. Together are called as lateral roots. Now on the secondary roots and tertiary roots, so many root hairs will be there. So this is a main root, primary root, which is getting tapered. Now on that we are telling many lateral appendages will be there. So they are called lateral roots. This is one lateral root. Another lateral root. Another lateral root. Another lateral root. Another lateral root, another lateral root. So these are the lateral roots. Now the lateral roots are arranged on the taproot in acropetal manner. So the lateral roots means secondary and tertiary roots. So let me write down the lateral roots are arranged on taproot in which manner? In acropetal manner. In acropetal manner. What do you mean by acropetal manner? Bigger root toward the base, smaller root toward the apex. This is bigger root, comparatively you are going small. So this arrangement is called acropetal manner. Now this root is called primary root. On the primary root, here is secondary root. On the secondary root, further branches are there. So these are tertiary roots. On the tertiary roots, these small hair-like structures are called root hairs. They are called root hairs. Okay, all of them are arranged in which manner? In acropetal manner they are arranged. Okay, so lateral roots are arranged in acropetal manner, and this constitutes the taproot system. What is taproot system? Primary root with the lateral roots, and root hairs, constitute taproot system. It is called taproot system, and taproot system is a characteristic feature of dicots. Taproot system is a characteristic feature of dicot plants. Understood about taproot system? So in all the dicots, in woody trees, we find taproots. Now coming to the second type of root, what is that called? Fibrous root. So this is a first type of root system. Now the second one is called fibrous root system. Let us understand what is fibrous root system. Now we told the taproot system is characteristic feature of dicots, means fibrous root system is characteristic feature of monocots. Now in monocots we tell the primary root is short-lived, it will die. In monocots, I'll erase this diagram, and here we can draw the structure of monocot root now. Now in monocots, what happens? So this is the stem, this is the underground portion, this is the primary root. In monocots, we are telling the primary root is short-lived. The primary root is short-lived. When it is short-lived, it will die. When the primary root dies, then it will be replaced by a bunch, a tuft of roots arising from the base of the stem, which is the fibrous root. It's fiber-like, so fibrous root system. In monocots, the primary root is short-lived and soon replaced by, the primary root is replaced by a tuft of fibrous roots. These fibrous roots also will have lateral roots. They will also have root hairs replaced by tuft of fibrous roots, which also show lateral roots, which also shows lateral roots. So this is fibrous root system. And fibrous root system, where do we find? We find it at monocots. Monocots example, they have given wheat in NCERT. For dicot example, they have given mustard plant as an example. For dicot, mustard plant. For monocot, wheat plant they have given. So there's another type of root system which is called adventitious root system. Now the root should come from which part of the embryonic axis? Radicle. If the root is coming from any other part of a plant but not from the radicle, then such a type of root is called adventitious root. Again, what is adventitious root? The root coming from any part of the plant other than radicle is called as adventitious root. Fibrous root is also coming from the base of the stem only, right? Not from the radicle, right? That means fibrous root is also a type of adventitious root. Let us write about the third type of one, which is called adventitious roots. Now, what do you mean by adventitious roots? The roots arising from any part of the plant other than radicle. Roots arising from any part of the plant, but not from the radicle. So, let us write down other than radicle. Other than radicle is called adventitious root. Examples, let us see some examples of adventitious roots. So, in Monstera, they are found. In grasses also, from the base of the nodes they are found. In banyan tree also they are found. So, these are examples of adventitious roots. In Monstera we find them, in grasses we find them, in banyan tree, in Monstera stilt roots we find. In grasses they are from the nodes. In banyan tree from the branches and the stem we find them. So, all these are adventitious roots. So, that means fibrous root is also from the stem only, not from the radicle. Means we can tell that all fibrous roots are adventitious roots, but all adventitious roots are not fibrous roots. Okay, so you understood three types of roots. The first one is taproot, next one is fibrous root, the third one is adventitious root, and I am telling taproot is characteristic of dicot, fibrous root is characteristic of monocot, and later adventitious roots are found in dicots also, monocots also. Now we are telling like fibrous root is also a type of adventitious root. So, all fibrous roots are adventitious, but all adventitious roots are not fibrous roots. Now, in banyan tree, adventitious roots will come from the branches to support the huge tall tree. Now, they are not fibrous roots, right? So, in Monstera also, from the nodes the roots will come to give additional support. They are also not fibrous roots. So, because these are trees. In trees, dicot will, in dicots, taproot will be there, not fibrous roots. So, that's why we are telling all fibrous roots, because they are not coming from radicle, they are adventitious. But all adventitious roots are not fibrous in origin. Now, next topic, we have to discuss about the regions of the root. So, what are the regions of the root? Let's go and discuss the next topic, the regions of root. Now, when we have to draw the picture and see the regions of the root, here we go. This is the tip. I am drawing the meristematic cells. Root tips and the shoot tips contains meristematic cells. This region is called as, so zone of region of meristematic cells. This is region of meristematic cells. Now, the meristematic cells which are actually dividing small cells should not be damaged. If they are damaged, root will not grow. So, that is why they are covered by a thimble-like, young, tender, thick structure which is called root cap. So, this region is called root cap region. This is root cap region which is terminal. Subterminal will be the region of meristematic zone. And the next zone till here we can tell this is the zone of elongation. This is zone of elongation. And the next zone is zone of maturation. So, from here to here, what is this? This is zone of maturation. In the maturation zone only, we can see many root hairs come out. So, here we can see many lateral roots and root hairs coming out. So, here is one root hair another. Till the maturation region is there, we can draw. But see, I am making them in acropetal, means at the base I am making bigger root hairs, lateral roots, and then as I am coming, I am making them smaller. Yes, I am making them smaller to tell acropetal succession, right? Now, here also they are present. Isn't it? If you see three-dimensionally, we can see these things also. So, all this is maturation region. So, how many regions? Root cap region, meristematic region, elongation region, maturation region. Let us discuss one by one. The first region is called as root cap region. Now, we are telling that the root tip, which contains meristematic cells, presence of meristematic cells will help the plant to grow indefinitely. The meristematic cells, the actively dividing cells, should not be damaged, means they should be protected by a thimble-like structure called root cap. Now, what is root cap region? It is at the tip of the root, occupies the tip of the root. So, root cap is also called calyptra, and root cap is formed from a meristematic cell called calyptrogen. So, the meristematic cell which forms the root cap, the meristematic cell which forms root cap, what is that called? Calyptrogen. That is called calyptrogen. Understood? So, now in terrestrial plants, roots are protected by root caps, but in aquatic plants, root caps are replaced by root pockets. So, in aquatic plants, root caps are absent. Root caps are absent, but they possess. What do they possess? They possess loose root pockets. What do they have, ma? Root pockets. The cells in the root pocket are loosely arranged. Now, what is the main difference between root cap and root pocket? This is a thimble-like structure called root cap, which is protecting the root tip, because the meristematic cells have to penetrate into the harsh region of stone, soil and all those things. But in aquatic conditions, the water is soft, right? So, it doesn't need that harsh structure called root cap. So, then a loose cells is enough to protect it. So, that's called root pocket. Root cap might get damaged. So, that is why root cap, if it is damaged, it can be regenerated. But root pockets are not regenerated. The difference between root cap and root pocket is, so root cap can be regenerated while the root pockets are not regenerated. They are not regenerated. Understood? This is about the root cap region, the first region, terminal region. Just above the root cap is the zone of meristematic cells. Okay, it's terminal or subterminal? It is subterminal. Now, let us talk about the second zone. What is that zone called? Zone of meristematic cells. Now, meristem means division, means meristematic cells. Meristem means division, means the cells which are present in the meristematic zone will divide rapidly and contribute to the growth of the plant. So, the zone of meristematic cells where is present? Subterminal. Subterminal to the cap. They contain meristematic cells. The meristematic cells will divide and contribute. They contribute to plant growth. They contribute to root growth. These meristematic cells are small with, it is actively dividing cell with abundant cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. With abundant Actively dividing cells should have abundant cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. And it has prominent nucleus, but no vacuola. Meristematic cells will not have space for giving to vacuole, no vacuole. What is the function of meristematic cells? Keep dividing, contributing to the root growth. So children, the first zone is a root cap zone which protects the tip of the root. The second zone, subterminal, is a meristematic zone. Meristematic cells actively dividing and they increase the cell number, they help in the cell growth. Now the next region is a zone of elongation and the next region is a zone of maturation. Let us discuss about these two zones also. So the third region is zone of elongation. So now when we are born, even we are very small. Now from our birth till the adolescence, we keep growing. Till 18 years, from first year till 18 years, we keep growing. In the same manner, the cells which are formed are very small. In the elongation region, they keep growing. The cell which is this much. So it starts growing and it reaches its maximal size. It will become this much. That is the region of elongation. So at the region of elongation, what we can see is the cells which are this much, they are elongating and becoming this much. Further elongate and become this much, further elongate and become this much, further elongate and become this much. So as I am going up, I am increasing. So in the elongation region, the cells which are small, they are elongating and becoming bigger, further elongating and becoming bigger, further bigger, like that. So that is called elongation region. And how are they elongating? By developing a large central vacuole. So the third region, which is called as zone of elongation, we are telling cells in this zone, they develop vacuole and enlarge in their size. That is why the root is growing. Now the last zone is called zone of maturation. Zone of maturation. So after division, they will elongate. After elongating, they get matured, they get specialized, they take up a function that is called zone of maturation. So cells in this zone get matured, they get matured and take up a specialized function, and the take up specialized function. In the maturation region only you can find that epidermis, cortex, stele, all the regions. And root hairs and lateral roots are also originating from the maturation region only. So what are these structures we have seen? All these are root hairs. So root hairs and lateral roots are seen in the maturation region only. So we will start with lateral roots. Lateral roots originate in maturation zone only. And lateral roots are endogenous in origin. Means they are not projecting just from outside, they are coming from pericycle. So they are endogenous in origin. Lateral roots are endogenous in origin. And root hairs are also seen. Root hairs are also seen in the maturation region. And the lateral roots are acropetally arranged, right? We know that also. So the lateral roots are acropetally arranged. Means older roots at the base, younger roots at the tip. So now in this session we completed what is root, types of root, functions of root, regions of the root. Now in the next lecture we will discuss about the root modifications. Hope you understood the lecture. If you like the content, like, share and subscribe to my channel Prasanna Lakshmi Tutorials. Thank you.